a man's unexplained death, a fearsome family legend, a haunting heathland howl. The eerie mists of Dartmoor and the black block of Baskerville Hall are the setting for tonight's program, a production of Raconteur Radio, from a novel by Arthur Conan Doyle. Into this atmosphere of melancholy moors, sinister secrets, deadly threats, and canine apparitions comes the supremely rational Sherlock Holmes, a man described by his friend Watson as, quote, the most perfect reasoning machine the world has ever seen, unquote. Beware the moor in those dark hours when evil is exalted, the superstitious denizens of Devonshire caution the good detective. But the hunt is on, as Holmes and Watson, in their most terrifying case, ignore the warnings and search for their four-legged suspect, hoping the hulking hound proves, when all is said and done, to be more delusion than demon. But before we begin, a quick word from our sponsor.
My dog's better than yours. My dog's better than yours. My dog's better 'cause he gets kennel ration. My dog's better than yours. My dog's bigger than your dog. My dog's stronger than yours. My dog's better 'cause he gets kennel ration. My dog's better than yours.
Kennel ration. It's the real thing. The lean red meat he wants. The other good things he needs. Canned fresh, cooked fresh, to stay fresh. Juicy, tender, and moist. Kennel ration. In a can. Because it's the real thing.
My dog's better than your dog. My dog's better than yours. My dog's better 'cause he gets kennel ration. My dog's better than yours.
Tonight's performance stars Michael Jarmus as Dr. John Watson, Jason Jackson as Dr. James Mortimer and Mr. Jack Stapleton, and myself, Lawrence Mintz, as Sherlock Holmes, Sir Henry Baskerville, and the voice of Raconteur Radio. And now, without further ado, the woody Dartmoor fog parts to reveal the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Through the haze, I had a vague vision of Holmes in his dressing gown, coiled up in an armchair, with his black clay pipe between his lips. Several rolls of paper lay around him.
Not cold, Watson.
No, it's this poisonous atmosphere.
I suppose it is pretty thick now that you mention it.
Thick, it's intolerable.
Open the window then. In any case, I have been to Devonshire.
In spirit?
Quite so. My body has remained in this armchair, and has, I regret to observe, consumed in my absence 2 large pots of coffee and an incredible amount of tobacco. After you left, I sat down to Stanford's for the ordnance map of this portion of the moor. My spirit has hovered over it all day. I flatter myself that I could find my way about.
A large-scale map, I presume?
Very large. See here. Here you have the particular district which concerns us. That is Baskerville Hall in the middle.
With the wood around it.
Exactly. This small clump of buildings here is the hamlet of Grimpen, where our friend Dr. Mortimer has his headquarters. Within a radius of 5 miles, there are, as you see, only a very few scattered dwellings. There is a house indicated here, which may be the residence of the naturalist Stapleton, if I remember right. Here are 2 moorland farmhouses, Tor and Foulmere. Between and around these scattered points extends the desolate, lifeless moor. This, then, is the stage upon which tragedy has been played, and upon which we may help to play it again.
Must be a wild place.
Yes, if the devil did desire to have a hand in the affairs of men, This would certainly be a suitable setting.
Well, then you are yourself inclining toward the supernatural explanation?
The devil's agents may be of flesh and blood, may they not? There are two questions waiting for us at the outset. The first is whether any crime has been committed at all. The second is, what is the crime and how was it committed? Of course, if Dr. Mortimer's surmise should be correct, we are dealing with the forces outside the ordinary laws of nature, there then is the end of our investigation. But we are bound to exhaust all other hypotheses before falling back upon this one. I think we'll shut that window again, if you don't mind. It's a singular thing, but I find that a concentrated atmosphere helps a concentration of thought. I've not pushed it to the length of getting into a box to think, but that is the logical outcome of my convictions. Have you turned the case over in your mind?
Oh, yes, I've thought a good deal of it in the course of the day.
What do you make of it?
Well, it's very bewildering.
Certainly has a character of its own. There are points of distinction about it. That change in the footprints, for example. What do you make of that?
Well, Mortimer said that the man had walked on tiptoe down that portion of the alley.
Don't be absurd. Why should a man walk on tiptoe down the alley?
What then?
He was running, Watson. Running desperately. Running for his life. Running until he burst his heart and fell dead upon his face.
Running from what?
There lies our problem. The thing takes shape, Watson. It becomes coherent. Might I ask you to hand me my violin? We will postpone all further thought upon this business until we have had the advantage of meeting Dr. Mortimer and Sir Henry Baskerville in the morning.
The sun had set at dusk and was settling over the moor. And so Holmes and I set off to Baskerville Hall. Well, if you're so sure it's Stapleton, that it is Stapleton, why should we not arrest him at once?
My dear Watson, you were born to be a man of action. Your instinct is always to do something energetic. But supposing, for argument's sake, that we had him arrested tonight, what on earth a better off should we be for that? We could prove nothing against him. There's the devilish cunning of it. If he were acting through a human agent, we could get some evidence. But if we were to drag this great dog to the light of day, it would not help us in putting a rope around the neck of its master.
Well, surely we have a case.
Not a shadow of one. Only surmise and conjecture. We should be laughed out of court if we came with such a story and such evidence.
Well, there is Sir Charles' death.
Found dead without a mark upon him. You and I know that he died of sheer fright. And we know also what frightened him. What signs are there of a hound? Where are the marks of its fangs? Of course, we know that a hound does not bite a dead body, and that Sir Charles was dead before ever the brute overtook him. But we have to prove all this, and we are not in a position to do it. No, my dear fellow, we must reconcile ourselves to the fact that we have no case at present, and that it is worth our while to run any risk in order to establish one.
And how do you propose to do so? But I could draw nothing further from him, and he walked, lost in thought, as far as the Baskerville gates. Are you coming up?
Yes, I see no reason for further concealment. One last word, Watson. Continue to say nothing of the Hound to Sir Henry. You will have a better nerve for the ordeal which we will have to undergo tomorrow when he is engaged, if I remember your report right, to dine with our straw-hatted friend Stapleton. But now, if we are not too late, I think we are both ready for our suppers.